What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today we are going to talk about 7 alternate fingerings that you should know on the saxophone. Alternate fingerings are used on the saxophone to help clean up your technique. Oftentimes when you're playing licks or runs on the saxophone, you'll run into some weird fingerings that just don't feel right. And most of the time there's an alternate fingering that you can use that will make that weird passage or those weird set of notes play and sound way better. So today we are going to talk about 7 different alternate fingerings, and they work on any saxophone. So it could be alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, soprano, bass saxophone. The fingerings are the same on all of them. So the very first one that we are going to learn is our fork F sharp. Fork F sharp, also known as chromatic F sharp, also known as side F sharp. And that F sharp is playing an F, your regular F, 1, 2, 3, 1, with this key right here. This key right here. So up close and personal, this key right here. Not this one. This one we'll talk about later. If you have a professional saxophone, you'll have this key. If you have an intermediate or beginner saxophone, you won't have this key. But this is the one we're talking about right here. Okay? So this is your alternate F sharp. This is what it sounds like. Here's your regular F sharp. Alternate F sharp. As you can hear, they are the exact same note. So when do we use this fork F sharp? Usually you will use it when you're doing chromatic runs or you're playing scale-wise motion between an F and an F sharp. And the reason for that is when you go between F and F sharp, you have to flip-flop. And on the saxophone, when you flip-flop, especially at very fast tempos, you can really hear it. So it's not really clean. So when you do this, it gets very clean. So here is trilling between an F and a regular F sharp. Doesn't sound bad, but you can hear how that click and clack in there, and you can hear how the notes aren't perfectly clean. Here is trilling with your fork F sharp. Super clean, super clean. Now, another place to use it is when you're playing a chromatic scale. Some people even refer to it as a chromatic F sharp. So I'm going to start on D and go up to G sharp, and you'll hear this chromatic F sharp. It really cleans up that scale because you are not flip-flopping. Here is a flip-flop. Now, at that tempo, you're not really going to hear it. But say you're doing a fall from an A down to a D. It's so much cleaner and so much easier than flip-flopping those fingers. You hear how much sloppier that is then. So your fork F sharp will clean up those chromatic runs. Another great place to use it is in your F sharp scale because you're going from an E sharp, which is also an F, to an F sharp. So the basic rule is when you're going from F to F sharp or F sharp to F, it's a really good option. However, there are some limitations because you are using this finger. So if you have to go from an F to an F sharp to a D sharp, you can't do that because you need this finger. So you cannot go F, F sharp, E, F, F sharp, D sharp, F, F sharp, D. Basically, anything that involves the 2 fingers below your F, you can't go to. So if you have to use your E key or your D key, your chromatic F sharp or your fork F sharp is not going to work. The next alternate fingering is super easy. It is your alternate G sharp. So when we play a G sharp, we use our regular G sharp key right here, right? But you can use any of these keys in your table and you'll get a G sharp. They all play a G sharp. So why is that important? If you are jumping from a low C sharp to a G sharp, it's really hard and it's really sloppy. But if you just finger your C sharp and your G sharp with this fingering, so knowing that your table, G sharp, you can use anything in the table, will work for your regular G sharp fingering, will save you when it comes to jumping to and from low notes. The next alternate fingering I have already done a whole video on, and that is your B flat. There are several different ways to play B flat. I'm just going to show them to you. I'm not going to go as in depth as I did in the last video. If you'd like to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below. But we have two main B flats that we use. First, I call regular, which is A with a side key. So it's just A with your side key. I use that one when I am playing scale-wise motion. Scale-wise motion meaning A, B flat, C, or C, B flat, A. If you're playing anything with those three notes in order, you want to use that B flat. That's going to be the cleanest one. The other one is bis B flat, which is your B key with this little key below. Let me get a little bit closer. So it's your B key with this little key right here below. And you push them both at the same time with the same finger. And you can leave this on all the time. Like if you're playing a song that has B flats in it, you can just leave your front finger, your first finger, on that key all the time and it won't affect anything but the B. So here is your bis B flat and your regular B flat. So as you can see, those are the same notes. Now, there are other ways to play B flat, but I tell my students they don't exist except when you're doing grace notes or something like that. So that is the 1 and 1 B flat. So 1 and 1 is when you play 1 with your front finger, your first finger on your left hand, and 1 with your right hand. So that is a B flat. But it doesn't sound nearly as good as the other ones. Here is that B flat compared to the other B flats. Here it's like softer and a little bit flatter. So it's great for doing grace notes. But that's about all it's good for. Now, you can use any of these keys to do it. You can use this, this, or this. They all give you the same note. But the only time you should use 1 and 1 B flat is if you are doing a grace note or a scoop maybe. Never use it when you're playing just regular music. You either want to use your regular B flat when you're doing scale-wise motion or your bis B flat when you are jumping to the note. The next alternate fingering is your side C, also known as your chromatic C, but I always call it the side C. So we have our regular C, which is fingered like this, and then our side C, we play a B, we finger a B, and then we use our middle side key right here. Use this one, your side C key right there, and you hit it with the side of your hand. So with all of these, we want to keep our fingers, our hands, as close to the saxophone as possible. So we don't want to play it like that, or we're not functionally using it. The whole idea is like to clean up your fingers and get it going faster. So we want to hit with the side of your hand. So this is chromatic C because when you're playing B, C, C sharp, you don't want to have to flip-flop. You don't want to go. It's way cleaner to go. And again, if we were going to do a trill or play back and forth between a B and a C quickly, if you use your regular B and your regular C, you get really strong flip-flop sound. Flip-flop meaning you're flipping and flopping your fingers back and forth. It's just not clean, whereas if you use your side C, it is super clean. So use your side C when you're going from B to C sharp, chromatic motion, or even just B to C. Now our next one we have already talked about. It is your fork F sharp. It also works with your octave key. So it's the exact same thing where you're playing your fork F sharp, F to F sharp just like we did before. And the same thing with your G sharp. It all works with the octave key. You can hit any of these and you get the same note. And your side C is also works with your octave key. So you can play your regular C or your side C or the B flats. Basically all the low notes are the same as the high notes. Now let's talk about some alternate fingerings in the palm keys. We are going to start with F just because everything else is built off of the F. So it's way easier to start there than to work our way into it. So we all know that a high F is fingered with our palm keys. 1, 2, 3, and that top side. So that's your high F. But a way easier way to play that if you're coming from, like say a C, for example, is a front F. And a front F is when you play a C and then you hit this key right up here. This kind of key looks like a teardrop. Mine looks a little different on this P Mauriat, but a lot of times it'll just look like a teardrop. But it's always that key that's right above the B key. Sometimes it'll have a pearl on it. Sometimes it'll just be a piece of metal like this, but it's always in that same location. So the fingering is C with your front F key on it. and it sounds like this. So if we go between the two Fs, we can hear that those are the same note. And if we're coming from a C to a side F, you'll hear the difference. Here is C to side F. You'll watch how much work it takes for my fingers to get there. Now, if I'm going from C to the front F, it's way easier. The next one that we're going to talk about is very similar to your front F. It is your front E. So if you have your front F and it is C plus your F key, your front E is you just add your G key. So it's the same fingering except you put down your G key. So here's your F to your E. And you hear that as the same as a regular E. So I'm going to go E, regular E to front E, regular F to front F. So those are some options when you are going up to your palm keys. Now, where would we use these? A lot of times when you're going into altissimo, it's easier to go to the front. Or again, like I showed you, when you're coming from that C, it is way easier to go to your front F than it is to go to the palm keys F. So those are your most common alternate fingerings. However, there is one more alternate fingering that I'd like to show you that isn't necessarily an alternate fingering, but I use it as an alternate fingering all the time. So when I'm playing a low B flat, if I'm starting that low B flat, it's super easy. I just put my fingers down and I'm good to go. So let me turn my saxophone so you can see my table. Now when I'm playing a scale, say I'm playing like a chromatic scale, going from B to B flat is not super easy to do on the rollers. Even though there is a roller there, it's not the cleanest thing ever. So what I do is I drop my hand. So I play the B and then I drop my hand and I hit the B flat key on the edge right here. Some saxophones have this little bar right here. That makes it way easier. Some don't. But if you hit right here on this corner, you're going to close the B flat key and it's going to sound really good. So I'll play chromatic, C sharp, C, B, and drop the B flat. Here's the difference if I played it without dropping and doing the regular B flat fingering. So you get the same note, but I definitely have to think way harder about rolling this key than I do about dropping this down and knocking it out. So those are some alternate fingerings to work on the saxophone that will make your technique sound cleaner and make everything sound way, way, way better. Now, obviously, in the beginning, when you start using a new fingering, it's going to slow you down a little bit and it's not going to sound nearly as clean as what you've been playing forever. But if you work on this for just a little bit, I can promise you when you're playing these fast passages and you have these alternate fingerings down really good, it's going to clean everything up and make fingering tough passages way easier when you have options to get from one note to the next. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. I hope that you now know a lot more alternate fingerings than you did before you started watching it. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. Thanks a lot.